Hello, I'm David Evans. As those of you who read Chinese will see, I'm a chemist. I've been working in Beijing University of Chemical Technology since 1996. In the last few years, most of my work has switched from working with undergraduates and postgraduates to working with school children, from primary school right up to high school. So we hope that by demonstrating chemistry experiments, getting the students actually doing hands-on experiments, we can inspire the next generation of chemists, the next generation of scientists. So I was here 17 years ago in Beijing during SARS. I saw how China was able to mobilize all of its resources to overcome the epidemic. So I was confident that faced with COVID-19, they would be equally successful, as it seems that indeed they have. So that I'm living on campus, and I'm able to buy most of the things I need from the shops on campus, and the cafeteria actually has started selling meat and vegetables that you can take away and cook at home if that's what you want to do. And other goods I can get delivered to the campus gate by courier service, so it's very convenient. Just occasionally I try to limit it to once a week. I go to the shops off campus and find that they're very well stocked. I can't think of anything I wanted to buy that I couldn't buy, and everybody seems to be behaving calmly and rationally. Judging by media reports, this is not what's happening in many other countries around the world. See extraordinary scenes of old ladies fighting in the supermarket aisles for the right to buy 100 toilet rolls. How long does it take you to use 100 toilet rolls? I haven't seen anything like this in China. So I feel very safe here, very well looked after. I'm very glad I didn't take the ridiculous advice of the British Foreign Secretary, the Foreign Minister, who near the beginning of the epidemic said all Britons should get out of China by whatever means possible. So I stayed, and certainly don't regret staying. I was glad to see from the British Embassy social media platform that the British Ambassador herself is still in Beijing. So China implemented many measures to tackle COVID-19, some of which were criticised by many observers in the West for being ineffective or overly coercive. So I'm looking here at a graph from a paper in the Journal of the American Medical Association. So it shows that on January the 23rd, when Wuhan was shut down, there were around 400 reported cases of the COVID-19 virus. But actually, at that time, there were around 2,500 carriers of the virus. So the conspiracy theorists amongst you will be saying, yes, I knew all along, China's giving us fake figures. But actually, of course, that's not the case at all, because when people have just been infected, they have no symptoms, and then they have very mild symptoms, which of course could be due to a cold or the common influenza. It's only if the illness becomes more serious that they then go to hospital and they're tested, and then it's known that they actually are carrying the virus. So you can actually work backwards and say that 7 days ago, for example, when the symptoms first became apparent, this person was actually infected. So that's how you can estimate that there were around 2,500 carriers of the virus when Wuhan was shut down. And looking at the graph, you can see the figures in grey, that after Wuhan was shut down, then the number of new cases actually infected plateaued and then started to decrease. Of course, the actual numbers of reported cases continued to increase for quite a long time afterwards, because there's the time lag as people who have the disease start to exhibit the symptoms, are tested, and then shown to have the disease. So I think from that we can see that the lockdown had a very powerful effect. And although it was criticised by many people in the West, other countries Italy, for example, and others are now introducing similar measures because they have seen that it does work. In the last couple of years then, we started to do more and more on social media platforms like Kuaishou and Douyin, TikTok in the West. So this came about because my assistant, he said, let's put a few science experiments on Kuaishou and see what happens. He said, I'm sure nobody will watch them. But I said, well, okay, let's do the experiment and see what happens. So we did the experiment and we found that actually quite a few people do watch them. We have something like 3.3 million followers on Kuaishou, for example. So these are great platforms because they can reach people in the small towns and the countryside who don't have other opportunities to take part. We all need a scientific way of thinking these days. Obviously scientists do, but so does everybody else. You'll all have seen on the news the great contributions that today's scientists are making to the fight against COVID-19, from quickly sequencing the genome and then developing diagnostic tests, and in the longer term, hopefully, a vaccine. But of course, in the future, we're going to face other problems, some of which we know about already, climate change, for example. Others, like COVID-19, will suddenly appear. But whatever problems we face, then we're going to need scientists to actually tackle these problems. So as I often say to the students at the ends of my talks, then problems in the future aren't going to be solved by white-haired scientists like me. And they usually shout out, 黑头发, 黑头发, black hair. I say, yes, your hair is all black at the moment, so I hope that some of you will actually work hard, become scientists, and in the future you'll invent and discover something which will actually benefit society. I'm confident that China is going to emerge stronger from this experience, and I hope that we can play our very small part by helping to inspire and train some of the future scientists which the country is going to need as it gets stronger.